Alright, so welcome to SouFLoTV again, everybody. It's your host with the most. I want to start celebrating right now, but I won't. And I'll advise everybody else, don't start celebrating yet. Not saying that we're putting anything bad out there into the atmosphere, but you already know how these things go, right? We're still keeping our fingers crossed. But today, first day in court, and a major victory was won. Big up to the Loop and Mr. Claude Mills for this one. Entertainer Vybz Kartel and his three co-accused won a major victory on Monday afternoon as the Court of Appeal ruled that fresh evidence will be admitted in the appeal hearing, which began earlier in the day. So on June 9th, was the first hearing, right? And the next day they will be in court will be June 16th. Stay tuned. It was a victorious day for all four. So they call them appellants, right? Appellants, they're appealing. So all four of them. It was a victorious day. The fresh evidence which was allowed today represents a great blow by the appellants against this conviction. A buoyant or happy Bert Samuels told Loop Jamaica reporter Mr. Claude Mills. So Samuel represents Sean Storm Campbell, who is better known as recording artist Sean Storm, right? Or Sean Campbell, better known as Sean Storm. The artist is the statement, rather, of the sole eyewitness that he arrived at Swallowfield at 8 p.m. In a statement to the police 8 days after the incident, collides with his sworn testimony that he arrived between 5 and 5:30 p.m. and that the beatings commenced soon after. That means by the time Sean Storm arrived at 8, he would have been excluded from the participation in the beatings because the reasoning of the prosecution at this time, Clive Williams would have been dead, the prominent attorney added, if there had been any beating around the time said, right? Williams was allegedly beaten to death in August of 2011 at a house in Havendale, St. Andrew. His body has not been found. And of course, a lot of us out here are saying, how can you charge someone for murder when you can't even prove that someone was killed? But that still tickles me to this day. There's no forensic evidence saying that this individual was killed, right? But okay, so his body has not been found. Police expert has said at the trial that records from the mobile phone showed that the deceased, Williams, and accused Campbell were in St. Catherine at 7:30 p.m. and not at Swallowfield between 5 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. on the day of the murder. Another big blow to the prosecution case. Samuels also argued that his client, Campbell, has been denied the right of hearing and the right to be present when material evidence was being presented against him. Now, for those of you who don't know, it is your constitutional right to be present in a case where material evidence is being presented against you. You as a person under Jamaica's constitution have the right to see this evidence, right? And to investigate this evidence on your own as well. And in this case, the attorney is arguing that his client was not afforded these rights. He was making reference to the allegations of bribery and jury tampering that emerged at the end of the trial. In relation to the jury foreman accusing a member of the jury of trying to bribe colleagues during the trial to return not guilty verdicts, the Court of Appeal ruled that Campbell's affidavit showing he was excluded from chambers when the foreman made the allegation must be presented as fresh evidence, as Campbell had a constitutional right to be present. Wow, that's another big deal. And guess what? This was also accepted in court when before according to the presiding judge over this case before, did not accept these into evidence. He, Campbell, was not invited into the chambers by the judge to deal with the incident of bribery, and he was also excluded when the judge was dealing with the exclusion of a female juror who felt uncomfortable. People, yo, this gets so deep. Listen to this part. When the judge was dealing with the exclusion of a female juror who felt uncomfortable after she visited Horizon and she claimed that she saw her son in the company of the appellants. Remember, I know the appellants are Kahir Jones, Sean Storm, Vybz Kartel, and Andre St. John. So she, a juror, visits Horizon and sees her son, who is also incarcerated there, in the company of these guys. She was angry about that. So could her decision to say guilty verdict, them dirty boy there, sway? Campbell was not allowed to participate in the discussion in chambers. None of the appellants were allowed. So again, their rights were violated again. The Court of Appeal also ruled that statements made by jurors in relation to the bribery trial must be admitted as fresh evidence. Yes! This is what I'm talking about. So you had jurors that were making statements like them figure prison, them fi dead, without seeing evidence. So these jurors had preconceived notions of the individuals, right? You know, in the United States of America, if you're going to be a juror, they normally ask you, do you know about this case? Your answer is no. They seek to ask you, have you heard anything about this case? Have you read upon the case? Have you spoken to anyone about it? If you're saying no, 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 then more than likely you're going to become a juror. What they're trying to establish is a non-prejudicial stance from the intended jurors. That way you can look at fresh evidence and make your decision based solely on reviewing the evidence and not you having some preconceived notion about the individual, right? What compounds the situation is that it appears that the judge knew about the bribery attempt of the juror weeks before the end of the trial. Wow. The judge elected to use The judge elected to use expedience over justice, Samuel said. So in other words, forget justice, him just want this to be over quick, fast, and in a hurry. Queen's Counsel Valerie, Nita Robertson, and Samuels had applied for a witness statement to form part of the appeal hearing to show that what the witnesses said in their statement to the police had differed from the evidence produced at the trial in the home circuit court. I mean, this thing is just messed up all around. Do y'all see how many holes are poked in here already so far? According to Samuels, Nita Robertson argued that contaminated cell phone evidence was allowed at the trial, along with what was viewed as prejudicial video evidence that was also allowed. The tape of the bribery attempt was played in the jury room, and once that happened, the jury was not an impartial tribunal anymore, Samuels said. Samuels theorized that the Court of Appeal hearing, initially expected to last 3 weeks, could be over in 1 week. Samuels theorized that the Court of Appeal hearing, initially expected to last 3 weeks, could be over in 1 week. I hope y'all catch that also, because a lot of us out here are expecting some big drawn out hoopla media frenzy like the first trial, and it's not going to be like that. One of their arguments also is that the heavy involvement of the media on this trial actually helped or hurt, because it swayed jurors' decision in the verdict. Because you know, you had a lot of people out there saying or prominent people or people in a certain position saying, oh, they were dirtying up the minds of the kids and all that. Well, if you don't like Vybz Kartel because you don't like his music, because his music tell girl for skin out palm body and all these things, it's not, as much as it might be distasteful to you, in a court of law, it has nothing to do with him being considered a murderer or being convicted and found guilty of murder. Understand? It's two totally different things. So we have to put things into perspective. Now, the fulsome submission which were made by the defense meant that the defense need not be on their feet too long, and that was the reason for the adjournment until next week, Monday. So, next week, each appellant will have 1 day in court. The DPP will have one, and that's the Department of Public Prosecution will have one, and it will be over in 1 week, he said. So here's your update, people. Next week, Monday, starting next week, Monday the 16th of June, each one, Andre St. John, Kahira Jones, Sean Storm, and Vybz Kartel will each have 1 day in court. And then the Department of the DPP of Public Prosecution will also have 1 day in court, and then it will all be over soon. Alright? The DPP has responded with just 1.5 pages. Samuels reasoned in a thinly veiled slight of Director of Public Prosecution Paula Llewellyn. Monday's fresh evidence was not part of the original trial, in which Vybz Kartel, Sean Storm, Campbell, Kahira Jones, and Andre St. John were convicted. It was not. So fresh evidence was entered. This was a big deal because the fresh evidence that was entered is evidence that everyone has been saying needed to be entered in order for these brothers to go free, right? And now that they have won that victory by having the Supreme Court judges say, yes, we will accept those in, now we are saying, okay, look, there's no way anyone with good reasoning sense can look at this after accepting these and say, okay, but they're guilty anyways. Okay, so things are looking rather well right now. I'm trying to stay away from the whole Gaza thing, and I'm just talking about the individuals that are involved, right? So Samuels praised his legal team, and the legal team comprises of Bianca Samuels, Danya Allen, and Isak Buchanan for their tireless work in compiling fulsome written submission which amounted to 140 pages. Wow. The appeal is being heard by the President of the Court of Appeal, Dennis Morrison, Justice Patrick Brooks, and Justice Frank Williams. The court will start hearing arguments in the appeal next Monday, which next Monday is June 16th. Alright, so people, from now till June 16th, right, what I want y'all to do is I want you to stay hopeful. Okay, I want you to stay hopeful. Like I've said before, a lot of people have approached me and have tried to get me to sway my decision or my belief that Vybz Kartel is not guilty, and I cannot in good conscience know what I know about this trial and stand here. It would be an assault and an insult to my intelligence, right? So we have to stand for justice because that's what's needed now. We see clearly what's going on, and we are still on the train that says free Vybz Kartel. We're still on the train that says free Andre St. John. We're still on the train that says free Kahira Jones. We're still on the train that says free Sean Storm, because the brother them don't deserve to be in there. Before I close this video out, I want to keep asking this question. That police officer that took that cell phone and did what he did with it, to include releasing personal pictures of Vybz Kartel to the internet, which caused a frenzy at the time, where is that police officer today? That is what me want to know. One of the main things. In the meantime, keep the faith, people. Alright? Keep the faith. Don't go acting rowdy and rude. Just big up and bless up everybody and keep the faith. A freedom we are pre this time around. Yeah? It's SouFlo, man. I'm up out of here. Peace.